We have two more sections. I'm going to talk about some of the dimensions of different aspects of culture when it comes down to it. Of all the ones that I looked at, this one really, the 6 dimensions of Hofstede, it really gives me a pause to stop and think. This is probably one of the better written and well thought ones when it comes down to it. There's 6 total dimensions, and it really concerns with work values. We're really dealing with business, and this relates so much more to the concept of doing business in another country, but paying attention to them, this is a measurement that goes through, and there's a lot of individual collectivism. It really deals with how do people make decisions in the process. People in highly collective cultures, by the time it's all done, they have a strong, cohesive in-groups, and they look after them in exchange for loyalty. So group decision-making is very, very common and plays a big role in their culture. People in individualistic cultures, like the United States, we tend to be much more loosely connected and look after themselves and their family rather than looking after the group. So you'll see the different contrasts, and probably the 2 biggest contrasts on these is Japan has a high collectivistic culture, and the US has a highly individualistic culture in the process. So you'll see the 2 of them, and really when you combine them, it really becomes very interesting and fascinating watching everybody being careful as they move forward in the process. The next dimension he talks about is the power distance. It's about how power is distributed unequally and accepted in the process you go through. A lot of times the rules are seniority, age, rank, and title. They play a huge amount of the power distance aspect of it as you go through. The more senior people, the age, the rank, the title, they're huge. When the person comes in, the younger people sit down and they're respectful, they go quiet, they allow them all to talk. And then if they have an opportunity, they may raise their hand tentatively and ask questions about the process. It's inequality based upon rank as you go through, the power distance as you go through. The large power distance societies, seniority, age, rank, and title are important, and formality is very expressed as you go through. The small power distance environment, the consultative style, hey, what do you think of that as you go through? That may not happen in a large power distance organization because of the fact that rank plays the whole role. In the small power distance environment, you have a lot of input from people at lower levels in the organization. The next dimension is called uncertainty avoidance. In some cultures, they resist change. It's almost like they pull out the knives and attack the change agent as they go through. They want clear procedures. They want to preserve the status quo. Make certain if you write something that it supports the way things are today, don't try to suggest something different unless you have a high power distance level. Only then do you have the right to sit down and talk about making change. The weak uncertainty avoidance culture, they see conflict as having positive aspects. I had one college president, he sat there and he wanted to make certain he thought conflict was a really positive thing, except he didn't realize who the culture of his faculty and his students were, and eventually they got rid of him in the process. Sometimes conflict and encouraging conflict can sit down and bring some nasty results. But that being said, it's really a cultural thing. So we call this uncertainty avoidance as part of the framework. The masculinity femininity dimension describes the distribution of roles between the sexes. I told you previously about the aspect of I had a woman police officer come in and give a report in front of a group of Chinese HR professionals. They were aghast in the process, thinking, a woman police officer? I was insulted, thinking, what do you got a problem? She's the best one I really have. So that being said, you have those kind of dialogues over there. And I said that they were frustrated about the fact we had one. I was frustrated that they wouldn't accept that in the process. You got to sit down and weigh the battles as to and ask questions as to what's really different. So it depends about the quality of work that's important and how we treat each other as you go through. The next one really deals with indulgent versus restraint as you go through. You sit down and indulge your personal views. Do I want to have this? Do I want this? They believe indulgent cultures that people have personal control over their lives. In restrained culture, they sit back and they say, well, that's inappropriate. I would never think of doing such a thing. And it's not about a religion-based, it's a culture-based as you go through. The whole thing of not doing things inappropriate is ingrained for them from the very beginning, not just by their parents, but by the whole society that's around them, where sometimes indulgent cultures, the kids run absolutely wild, the parents run wild, the whole world runs wild in the process, just pursuing whatever they want in their lives as they go through. And then pragmatic versus normative. dimension. Do you live with this? Do you accept this in the normative society? Okay, as you go through, there's a strong desire to explain and to know the absolute truth. Respect for tradition. This is how we do this as you go through. Okay, in the pragmatic orientation, people are concerned with understanding because life is a complex problem, and that's a given. So don't worry about it. It's going to happen. It's just all part of life. Here's the 6 dimensions as you go through. Frankly, this is certainly worthwhile knowing about because big picture wise, this will give you a good solid aspect of the different dimensions there are to different cultures as you go in. Take care.